Hi, everyone. My name is Ignacio, and I come here today, and I had a problem. All right, I had a problem because I was like, "What am I going to speak to you all about?" I wrote a paper. John read that paper. Me and John talk a lot, and I was like, "How can I best sell myself to you today?" As a Black man, sure. As a Black man with locks, sure. As a Black man who also goes to a UC school, so I'm well built for the kind of Black texturizing we're used to in these parts, right? The ones with I don't know. Last time I was here, they had some Asian folks with a little red coats on, chasing me around, being like, "Hey, you're in that pessimism class, aren't you?" And I thought to myself, if I sold myself as a victim, would people actually believe me? If I sold myself as a Black man who did all the right things, would they actually believe me? And I thought to myself, what if I sold myself as the Black queer man that I actually am? What if I did that? Would they believe that I'm straight today? Or would they believe that I'm a little wordy, a little swervy, or something that they can't conceive of, right? Today, I thought to sell myself as myself, and I'm not sure if that's good enough for everyone in here. I'm not sure if my Blackness, my nigginess is something I can put on and take off that makes all of you feel comfortable enough to be here with me. Because I thought to myself, I could stand up and I can give you the rigmarole about all the books that I've read, all the Afro-pessimism stuff. I can signpost for you and say, hey, I come here to talk about actual quotidian fungibility. I come here to talk about how we pick and prod and sell ourselves and prepare ourselves and curate ourselves for everyone but ourselves, while telling ourselves, for yourself, right? All that personhood you think to hold on to, all that scholarship you think you're supposed to be personally responsible for. I want you to know that today we're here to talk about hoes and how you all sell yourselves just to make a quick buck, but then act like you don't sell anything. You're not selling sex, and you're not here to fuck. But guess what? I want to tell you, each and every last one of you, you've sold more than sex today to be here. You've sold your gender, you've sold promises, you've sold nearby futures to be here. And you tell me, no, I ain't do that. I'm a good scholar, I'm a good Black person. I care about the things that I love. What if I told you that all the things that you love are usually touched by a little bit of deviance and a lot of transaction? What if I told you that everything that you held dear, that you're situated next to, that you hold relationality with, your beauty, all the time spent preparing your beauty, or I don't know, just the work you thought you would have when you look at your bank account and you go, I got a job and I got some money in my pocket, right? All of the things you took to prepare yourself, right? All the curating, right? I've already mentioned hair. I love mine, right? I do nothing to it and it looks great. Oh, thank God. But my point here is that even that, right? Even as I go to tickle desires, because I know Black people love hair. And I know that when you come to a conference with Black people as the focus, it's okay to talk about hair. Those things for me allow me to sell myself, to finesse myself to my audience, right? To be prepared. So I never have to ask the question of why did Winter, or why did Wilson, or why did any of these other people who are bigger than me right now, who get bigger paychecks than I do, who can afford to be sick, who can afford to do whatever they want. As far as I'm concerned as a TA, I have to understand what is relationality, not only in my instance, but as a scholar. If I ask all of you, how much have you given up to produce scholarship, to hear scholarship, to be a real scholar? Most of you would say things like, I think of time, energy, money, opportunities, all of the things that make us kind of possible, right? My work is to consider how Black whole life renders the impossibility possible, right? It's to take a subquote, right? I'm subtweeting people like, I don't know, Jay-Z, when he goes, I'm a businessman. I'm a businessman. And then he says, impossible takes, we know the line. I don't really have to do the Mike Dyson thing to be like, y'all got me, right? And to be like, all right, cool. But that instance right there for me, right, holding on to how to be a business in a place where we sell all of our labor as independent contractors, whether you're an adjunct or lecturer, or whether you actually miraculously got tenure, you're still selling your labor. And the things that we do to then increase the value of that labor that we done sold for pennies on the dollar, we do things like show up to all the Black activities, make sure that we do all the things that are unpaid labor for all of the students that we like and love, and then the ones we don't, just so they can leave us alone, even though we met all of the requirements that they asked us for. So to be in the best kind of plantation I can find, we have to find people who are willing to negotiate our values of worth while we're there, i.e. like this conference. How do we finesse the folks that are finessing us? And then how do we change the cost of nigga? Because even if you're not a nigga, being next to a nigga devalues your place of humanness, right? Right, your recognition ability, your ability to come as whole or as yourself, or as not next to any other nigga. As a nigga from Baltimore, I know that I have to clean up, right? How my black soap, right? I have to make sure that my crystals are aligned today so they know that I'm the right type of Black, that I'm not gonna cuss them the fuck out when they say wild shit to me like, excuse me, Mr. Evans, I just think that the way in which you talk to me, it seems like you have no pay. And I go, I didn't say anything but not good morning to you, and I spoke to all the Black people. Does that mean I don't care about you? Or does that mean I must care about you extra because when I say hello to the Black people, it's because you did it. It's because the spaces that we have to give in ourselves are ones that we don't get to push you for. But instead, we have to wait for our moment, jump to a nearby future, right? To hold on to what is it that we don't want to sell and that we have given everything else not to. My mother said, all you gotta do is stay Black and die. I looked at Sharp and said, bet. That means I can be eminent and eminent at the same time. Meaning that I can be aware of what's coming to us, but stand in my mood. Or as my homie George says, to move around. I talked about these concepts as advanced nigga theory, because I think that all of us as niggas know these things. We move around these things and we pick and prod and put them into place so we can have place, even if it's just for a moment. And so my work is to kind of invite you, but also to endorse an analytical Black whole life, right? Not to suggest that we must look at Black life as purely hoes, but I don't know a nigga who ain't. I don't know a nigga life that ain't touched by the deviance of hoeing, being considered a hoe, or guess what? Using hoe as a generative term, a generative analytic. Like, how many hoes I got in this bitch? And I'm not talking about women, I'm not talking about prostitutes, but I'm literally talking about how many things, right? To use that as an analytic to think from. It's something that is way more preferable because academia said I should say hoes, bitch, niggas, or any other sort, because they're not generative things to think from. But for me, that's all I got. Until I don't. But I also think that that's all we have. To lie to yourself to say that you're not a product of commodification, to say that you're not a product of how slavery has situated you, to say that you're not a product of the circumstances that are put forth to you today as a situated politics. And to say the Black body, hey bro, hey sis, hey my nigga, you're responsible for all that's put in front of you, even if you didn't cause it. Even if you wake up every day and move in the opposite direction. Your fault. You got to deal with it. For me, that's weird. I'm not gonna hold for gender. I'm not gonna hold for my institution. I'm damn sure not gonna hold for anything else other than my niggas. And I know that seems wild. Why would you hold for your niggas? Home for my niggas allowed me to put up my master's thesis and let Black people know that, hey, yo, you can write about whatever the fuck you want to write about as long as you got a justification in front of the right people. Shout out to my irresponsible whites, right? Or that I don't know, that I can appear in front of you all with one of my students as the lead organizer of this conference and be like, damn, I made it. And I made it anywhere but right here, right next to you all. And I think that that's value. Not for the next moment, not for the future, we're gonna cash this shit in, not for when we go celebrate with our PhDs and find each other at Applebee's and shit, no, none of that. But instead, the laughters that you give me right now for me to be live in the audience with you all. That's what this is here for. That's what I wrote about, right? To be present with your audience. I literally wrote about, I don't know, all the Queens men and these black men being strippers, being like, hey, yo, here's how you finesse bitches out that dollar. And understanding that the finesse is for the humans in the room. And all the niggas in the room know what time it is. All right, we know how to finesse. We have also seen and can practice finesse. But that's my endorsement here as an analytic, right? To practice this finesse and not just on the level of rhetoric, not just on the level of research. Because every scholar that I've seen thus far is slick. And shout out to all y'all finesse shit out of these people. Even you. And I know you will too. But my point here is that we need to keep doing this as not only a set of practices, but patterns of movement, how we move. And I yield, y'all have a good one.
Okay. I just want to make sure nobody else knows. Okay, quick one question, Mr. Ignacio. My question for you, especially, I mean, if you could just speak more on it, because I know that you might have something to say, especially that slash that you talked about eminence and eminence. One thing that I felt like in general with everybody's paper was that there was like a quote unquote, like there's a way in which, especially like the final paper, there was like a case study being utilized to sort of make a larger statement, right? Whereas though for you specifically, you use yourself to make the larger claims that you wanted to make in the paper. And so I'm curious always about like that eminence and the imminence, all of that eminence in relationship towards just Black being with a slash through it. And sort of how, for example, when you enter into a space or when you're involved with space, how that figures for you, and then in what ways you use your thought to affect it.
Oh, that was like layers on layers. A shout out, I'm taking this personal chat. A part of this is you spoke to this question of layered eminence. The reason why I think that I gave the speech the way in which I gave my presentation, the paper, and all of those things is a performative instance of staying Black while dying, right? Like I take my mama's challenge wherever I go. It harkens to the conversation we had some years ago about unapologetic Blackness and being able to produce that in spaces where we're oftentimes terraformed for other reasons. And then I guess the third tier of that is that I know what's coming. If I'm not comfortable in these spaces, I'll start to have anxiety. I'll start to do everything that regular humans do. And I'll be like, you know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to subject myself to things that everyone else will. I'm going to just be my nigger self. And if y'all don't like it, shout out to that. But if y'all do love it, it also speaks volumes to what parts of the things I chose to curate for you all. So it says a whole bunch about sets of desires, libidinal economies, all of those things. But the eminence that you speak of in the secondary and the third, the layers speak of a movement of self-defense while acting, writing, speaking, and being that is accountable to the fact that we're always made fungible and then thus my language are then liquidated for the comforts of the world, right? The reason why I did these things is to make anybody who thought they was a worldly citizen, a human, uncomfortable, and then literally provided space to make every niggerish intention comfortable. So everybody who was laughing, everybody who felt like, oh my God, that's not the conference, that nigga just jamming. That was the point, because we don't get to do that. And that was my attempt to jump to a nearby future, right? To take my Fanonian language and be like, yeah, I take the leap, bro. But the leap is not off a diving board. It's not 3,000 miles away, and it's not in the sands of an African cove, but instead, it literally is leap to, I don't know, a couple of seconds in the future. And I think it's kind of cool that I'm with a group of niggas I never met before. And how do I know I'm with niggas? Because they all laughed when I said niggas. And they didn't go, oh my God, I can't believe you said that word. Those things for me, like that's what that did. And it does that space in and space out, time in and time again, right? For me, it's a earnest and like just forward critique of sense, and sense as a understanding of humanity. Sense, meaning time, right? History since the beginning of time. Cents meaning, I don't know, niggas turned into dollars and cents. Or if it don't matter, then it don't make sense. Those things for me as an understanding of we're always negotiating the price of nigga. We're always negotiating the prices of niggas, right? And so when I did it, I literally did it for an identification measure. I did it for a space making venture. I also did it to finesse the shit out of the warrants of this space. So I already knew, given the panel that we was on, that was going to be instance. But it's a question of will you seize the audacious moments that you have amongst niggas to be able to reach out and then reach in. I never left this. I don't care to transcend the moment and become a bigger and better nigga. But instead, to become the best nigga I can be, is to stay with the nigga I always was. To never forget, to never throw away. Given that the world actively throws away niggas, I will not throw away myself. And I damn sure won't throw away the ones that could potentially be that. Now, Black people, I don't know, they might get thrown away real quick. And my distinction in a lot of ways is this: are you attempting to appeal to the seduction of humanism? Are you daring to do different? If you're daring to do it different, I can fuck with you and I know different, right? It's not a question of do you speak white? We all go to school. We all have been with that charge at some point. So it's not that, right? But instead it is, what are the actions? What are the patterns of movements? How do you move around, right? That are held in contention, and not just at the level of epistemology, right? Like my skin knows way more than I'm able to articulate, so I think that that's unfair. But instead, it speaks to the space of not only existence as people imagine you, but the unimaginable. We leap to unimaginable futures all the fucking time, right? A part of it, when you say fuck it, that's the finesse part I was hinting at. But that fucking allows for you to be eminent in those spaces. I don't care about what you think. I'm not, at the same time, I'm also finessing what you think because I know what you think, right? I'm literally not seduced by it. I know what you think. I know how you move. I know how you got to get that shit. But guess what? I'm going to do it too. And I'm going to get it how I live. That doing that, though, is the part where you don't sever self to produce for them, right? When the academy says, publish your parents. I read that as closed legs don't get fed. Shout out to my homie Ryan Walsh and players for right here. But my point here is that to never be unmoved by how that shit works, to never be shaken, even though we're in a room full of, I know I'm taking your business, but at the same time, my business can come with smiles. It can come with Black people. It can come with niggas I fuck with. Other than that, like I really don't want to be in these spaces. I don't have the energy, no power to exist next to white people who want me to sing, dance, and then act like I'm the next Frank. Shout out to Frank. But,
All right, and on that, I think we're going to end this panel and move on to the keynote. I think we have like a few minutes, so we're going to set up Calvin on the Zoom because he wasn't able to make it. So yeah, just do what you got to do, and I'll let you know when it's time to come back.